Hello, how's it going? In today's video, I'm covering the rest of the Warlock's Gambit and the Death Knights from Chronicle Volume 2. So let's go! Gul'dan was a little bit surprised to hear Kil'jaeden's voice. It had been like 5 or 6 years since he'd heard from him. Sargeras had commanded the Demon Lord to reconnect with his servant, but not in a you really ought to make more effort with your friends kind of way. Kil'jaeden informed Gul'dan to leave Doomhammer in charge of the Horde. That guy had sacked Stormwind, which was far more than Blackhand had ever accomplished. He was the kind of leader they needed, one that could conquer Azeroth's defenders. Gul'dan should do whatever he could to strengthen the Horde and ensure it completed its goal. And once again, Kil'jaeden promised Gul'dan power if he helped the Legion. However, this time, Kil'jaeden actually had every intention of making good on his promise, but Gul'dan understandably didn't exactly trust him. He was sick and tired of being the Legion's pawn, and the last time they'd promised him power, they'd just buggered off. So he feigned obedience, but secretly plotted betrayal. He now knew the Tomb of Sargeras' location. He could just go there and seize power for himself. He didn't need Kil'jaeden or the Legion anymore. What he did need was loyal allies, an army to protect him from the Horde's inevitable wrath when it learned of his intentions. So he went to Orgrim and he made a request. Can I form my own clan? Because that would be super awesome cool. He claimed that, unlike with the Shadow Council, he'd be 100% transparent in all of his activities. His clan would be forced to fight on the front lines alongside the rest of the army. Doomhammer had kind of suspected that Gul'dan would make a play to expand his influence and power, but he was still confident he could remain one step ahead of the old fart. Yeah, whatevs. This clan would be called the Storm Reavers, and Orgrim planned to insert spies among them just to keep an eye on things. However, Orgrim had also accepted Gul'dan's request because public opinion of the Warlock was now actually pretty crap. The Orcs kinda hated him. There was no way he'd be accepted into any of the other clans. If he was going to make an impact in this war, he'd need a clan of his own anyway. Gul'dan then went off and contemplated how he was going to deliver on his promise of creating new warriors. They needed to be secretly loyal to him, so he decided he'd have a little brain trust meeting with the Shadow Council. But then he remembered they're all dead, so that was a waste of time. However, their spirits were still intact. Maybe he could bring them back from the grip of death. So he and Cho'Gall went around collecting the Shadow Council's disembodied spirits. They needed a way to place them into physical shells. They definitely couldn't use bodies of orcs or ogres that had fallen in the First War. The Horde would have a right paddy about that. Desecrating the dead and whatnot? Piss off. But human bodies would be alright. They could totally put Shadow Council spirits into the corpses of Stormwind's greatest knights. That sounds like a great idea. Fell magic had been outlawed, so Gul'dan decided he'd transform these new soldiers into powerful necromancers, because that's much better. So Gul'dan and Cho'Gall conducted a whole bunch of bloody rituals, failed several times, but then finally succeeded. Gul'dan fused the spirit of his old buddy Terin Gore to the corpse of a fallen Stormwind knight. Necromantic energies were all up inside the rotting body, and it got up, like, sup brah? This shambling skeletal horror became known as Terin Gore Fiend, which is pretty dumb. They just put the word fiend at the end of his name. That's not fooling anybody. But Terin Gore Fiend was the first of what Gul'dan would call Death Knights. These soldiers were like the next step in evolution from Warlocks. They didn't eat, they didn't sleep, they didn't poop. You know, all those time-wasty things that Warlocks do. They could summon necromantic energies to rip the life from their enemies, and even raise the dead as reinforcements on the battlefield. Gul'dan went ahead and forged even more Death Knights. He was having a whale of a time. Orgrim looked at these Death Knights and was like, ugh, for crying out loud. They were unnatural abominations. Plus they were created from fallen members of the Shadow Council, which was an organisation Orgrim really wasn't a big fan of. But he couldn't deny their potential. They weren't using fell sorcery, but some other form of magic. It was immensely powerful, but it wasn't killing the land. So again, he was like, alright, fine. They were kinda on a deadline anyway. The longer he waited, the more he risked losing the element of surprise against the human kingdoms. These Death Knights would help them crush Lordaeron. Orgrim ordered Blackrock Orcs to keep an eye on them. The plan was, secure victory, and then destroy Gul'dan and his bloody soldiers. And the War Chief was right not to trust them. The Death Knights were two-faced knobs. But it wasn't just Orgrim or the Horde that they didn't give a shit about. They didn't really give a shit about Gul'dan either. All they really cared about was preserving their own existence. Now, there was one final thing to do before they could launch their attack on the Kingdom of Lordaeron. They still needed supplies and armaments, and Orgrim knew exactly where to go for those. Khazad-dûm, home of the Bronzebeard Dwarves. And we're leaving it there! In the next Volume 2 video, the Horde are going to invade Khazad-dûm, obviously, and then they're going to build some ships and make friends with goblins. As always, thanks very much to those of you who support the channel as patrons. Links in the description if anyone's interested in supporting the channel in that way. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, all of that bollocks. And all that's left to say is, thanks for watching, and see ya!